Let's get ready to rumble.
Yes, we're back. It is episode 51, 5-1, woo, of the Hibs Ramble. It's Liam today, your host, joined by Shaun and Mark. How the hell are we, lads?
I'm alright, mate. I'm alright. No great after that result yesterday, but we're still here.
That is what it is. How about you, Shaun?
Aye. Trying to let Hibs know, fight my mood, but it's hard. It's hard when we're that.
It's very difficult. It's very difficult to not let them affect your mood. Listen, it wasn't great yesterday, but one positive came out of it. I took my little girl Mila to our first ever Hibs game, and she really enjoyed it. She was going boo when everyone was booing the referee. She was clapping when we scored. She got right into it, and aye, she'll not be back though because we got beat.
Aye, bad luck, charm.
Yeah, bad luck, charm. Bad omen. Cheers, Mila. We'll take the 3 points next time. Just before we get kicked off into the game again, listen, we want to say a massive, massive thank you to everyone who's purchased a Leith 7 jacket, a t-shirt, a bucket hat, because I can now confirm that it is, for the second time, sold the hell out. That's incredible. Over 100 orders. We've seen tracky jackies and t-shirts and bucket hats all over the place at Easter Road down in Blackpool. I'm sure, Mark, you'll see some over in Switzerland when you go next week. But no, that is absolutely insane. We've managed to sell it out twice. Honestly, it's a bit mental, really, to see all the tracky jackies in that. But listen, let's move away from the positives and start on the negatives. Yesterday was a dismal display. Mark, lineup come out, and it was the same team that was meant to start against Inter Discaldes. Obviously, Marshall is back in goals. What did you think? Did you think that was the right call to go with the same team, or did you think he should have made a couple of changes?
I suppose when you go out and win a game 6-1, it's difficult to come in and make changes, but there are a few elements that worry me. I still think that our midfield is a very, very similar midfield to what we've had for 4 years now, with Josh Campbell, JDH and Joe Newell in the middle. Marshall in goals, I suppose, like, what do? You're not going to put Boric in. Marshall's your number one, so there wasn't too many things that I would have changed. It didn't surprise me going with a very similar starting 11 to the one that won 6-1, but yeah, I think we've got shades of a good side, shades of a good squad, but there's just still some positions I feel like are holding us back.
Yeah, Shaun, were you surprised to see Doyle, Hayes, Campbell and Newell again in the starting lineup, despite the fact that Lee Johnson said that they would never play together as a midfield three again?
I didn't look past Marshall when I saw Marshall starting. I didn't bother looking at the rest.
He turned the phone off.
Turned the phone off, put the phone down, and turned Hibs TV off. I don't even know where to begin with that midfield three, and I don't think I will, if I'm honest. I think individually they're all really good technical players, but the balance between the three, sometimes even with 2 out of the 3, just isn't what we need.
Doesn't really work as a 3. I think if it was a 5, then having those 3 in there would maybe be all right. But listen, not as a 3. They just don't work as a 3. And Lee Johnson even admitted that, like, way back when.
Didn't it work when we changed shape though? Do you know what I mean?
No. Well, I mean, listen, I'm going to move on to the first 20 minutes because it was a very, very tough watch for the first 20-25 minutes. Their penalty, Mark, I know that you probably had a better view of it than I did because you sit a wee bit further along towards the famous 5. From where I was sitting, it looked like there was no contact at all.
Yeah, well, I thought initially that the boy had actually tripped, and I didn't think he was going to even claim for it. I just thought it was he was in the box and he had slipped. His foot had went from under him, and then he just seemed, I don't know if you've seen him after it, he was shouting and screaming, slamming the floor. So obviously he felt contact, but what was bizarre was that play went on for it must have been a good 2-3 minutes. We actually had a shout for a foul ourselves up at their end, and then all of a sudden, because they've made such a deal of it, he keeps going to the referee. I've seen it back. It's soft as shite. Like the fact that in this day and age is a foul, and I know probably the rules of the game is that if there's any contact or whatever, but it's a stud. It's the edge of a stud that's grazed his boot, and he's went down. And if that's a foul, then dearie me.
Do you think, Shaun, like the introduction of VAR, of VAR last season, I think it did make, a fairly positive change in how the game was refereed. I don't think it's been incredible. There's obviously going to be some teething problems, but we are seeing, not even just in Hibs games, but we're seeing across the division, there's more and more instances of these ambiguous decisions being treated differently by the same people who are running VAR. I don't quite understand. Listen, I get it. I get what Mark says. There's contact, and if there's contact and the boy goes down, then 9 times out of 10, if the referee sees it on VAR, he's got to give it, really. But do you think it's setting a dangerous precedent, the fact that there's all these decisions that are either going one way or going another way, and there doesn't seem to be any consistency?
I think we mentioned it loads of times last season about the fact that there were, and you mentioned it as well yourself, that they were using it as like a fail-safe. So like they wouldn't make the decision then and there, and then they would use it to fall back on, and vice versa. If they thought in the time, in the moment, that it was like a clear red or a clear goal or a clear penalty, they would make the call, and then they would use it as a fail-safe to go and have another look. 9 times out of 10, or almost 10 times out of 10, they would overturn the decision that had or hadn't been made at that point when they went to view it. I know me and Craig disagreed in the chat about the award of the penalty, and I saw the player's reaction at the time, and I went, oh, like I thought he had properly like clipped him, or like took his leg away, but took it. And then when you see the replay back, like if VAR or the referees or whatever are meant to be there, especially VAR, for clear and obvious decisions, I just don't get how, no matter, I think they had 2 angles at it, replayed both angles, and I don't think either one make it any clearer as to whether there is or isn't a touch. I think the more you look at it from one angle, it looks like there might be a clip, and then but from the other angle, it doesn't look like there's a touch. It just looks like Joe Neal's like swung his leg. What my concern was is the amount of mistakes that we had before the penalty,
leading up to it.
Leading up to it. I think obviously fair play to Alan Del Fier. He's trying his best in a position that he's getting asked to. We all would, to pull on the green jersey and play Easter Road. But my concern is when he plays the throw in, there should be a shout from Marshall for like Will Fish to open his body and put it back across and then open up the play again and go out wide left. Or even for Joe Newell, when the ball comes back to Alan, when he's got his back turned, he should know, or even JDH, who's next to him, they should give him a shout that there's a man on, ball can then go into Newell and he can go back to Marshall and we can start again. St Mirren done that the whole game in regards to trying to like pick on certain players and pressure them into making mistakes, whether it was Alan at one end or Ewan at the other. And I just felt sorry for Del Fier as well, that he found himself in that position and he wasn't helped by Fish, Marshall or Newell or even JDH to an extent.
Yeah, I don't think he covered himself in glory though, in any case, which is a shame because, we've seen Alan Del Fier quite a few times now, and I think we all agree that his best position is probably in the centre of the midfield and that holding 6. So like you said, it's maybe a bit too much, too out of his depth to go and get him to play right back, especially just chucking him in at the deep end first game of the season. I mean, you can clearly see that the boy's got ability, but whether that's ability at right back, I'm not too sure. The answer though, I'm not convinced of anyone really. I mean, I think it would be the exact same to then chuck in Megwa. I think it would be harsh, if Megwa had, a subpar performance, then that might, have a detrimental effect for the rest of the season.
Michael doesn't do subpar performances.
I know, but
I get your point. He's like, how injured is Lewis Miller? Like, he's been on the bench. Like, how injured can he actually be?
Well, this is my opinion, is that if you're fit enough to be on the bench, you're fit enough to play the 90 minutes.
See, I wouldn't go as far as the 90 minutes, but you're fit enough to play a part. I feel bad for like Mega, who put in an outstanding performance and a very young side down at Blackpool, albeit it was in the centre of the defence. He knows the right side back two. He knows the right side of the park. Whereas Alan Delphier is more of a central player, like you said, a 6. So why are we relying on him at right back instead of, oh, look, a right back that we have on the bench? Like, do you know what I mean? If Lewis Miller isn't 100% to play 90 minutes, then cool. Like, how far can he play? Can he play 45? Can he, play 60 minutes? Get us up and down that.
Not even that, Sean, but if
just play Megwa.
That's what I'm thinking. If Lewis Miller isn't fit enough to play a part in the game, then take him out of the squad completely and put Megwa on the bench. But listen, enough of that. We'll move on to the second goal, which was felt like a matter of seconds later. Josh Campbell bullied in the middle of the park. The ball breaks. There seems to be, a lack of trust between Fish and Hanlon, a lack of communication. Mark and the boy, I'm not even going to try and pronounce the boy's name, but I thought he was electric. He was brilliant in the first half. Latches onto it, and it is a really, really tidy finish. And we find ourselves 2-0 down, and you're thinking this could genuinely be 5 or 6 at this point.
Yeah, to change the pace a wee bit from talking about Hibs, I'm going to talk about St Mirren briefly, because I thought they were brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, see that first half, I thought that's as good a performance a team can come and put in at Easter Road outside the Old Firm. Thought they talk about like mistakes and all that, but they've obviously done their homework about who Delphier is. They might have even talked about before the game that he's maybe not in a natural position, because they picked on him, they picked on Josh Campbell, they picked on Yuan, they picked on certain players that they knew were vulnerable, and they put a ton of pressure on. They pressed us up the park really well. They were quick in their counter-attacks, were well organised. Whenever we had the ball at the back, they let us have it at the back, and then as soon as we went past the halfway line, they pressed us right up and forced us into mistakes. And then that second goal was, I mean, they always say that, you're quite vulnerable after you've conceded or scored a goal. So to score straight after, I thought, fair play to them. That first half, as bad as we were, I thought they were also brilliant. But,
I think you do need to give them credit, 100%. I think it's kind of a trademark of a Stephen Robinson team. We've seen it when he was at Motherwell. He organises his teams well. I think he's been even better since he's been at St Mirren. I think he's a really good coach, and he does obviously very well on, compared to us and Hearts and Aberdeen, basically a shoestring budget. So you do have to give them credit where it's due. We go into half time 2-0 down, and Sean, were you thinking we can get back into this, or did you think that there was a chance, or on the way that we're playing?
I thought, no, I didn't. I didn't think we'd get into it at all. Like, based on Lee Johnson's Hibs side going off past performances, no, I really didn't. I did want us to get Lefondre on a bit earlier. I kind of wanted us to just kind of go for broke, if I'm being honest. Take Stevenson off, put Obita at left back, bring on like Melkerson, albeit it doesn't offer a whole lot, just from another attacking sense, to feed off like Lefondre and Doige. I understand the Boyle change as well when it happened, but no, at half time I didn't see us getting back into it at all.
What did you think of the changes after like half an hour or something, whatever it was? What did you think of that?
I was actually I was down in the concourse having a wee wander with Mila because she was getting a wee bit fed up, and I took her down, and it was when Marshall was down, and I was thinking, here's Marshall injured again. And I was wandering about in the concourse with Milo. And it said, Barry went, change for Hibs. Coming off the field is number 32, Josh Campbell. And I lifted her up and I ran right back and I was going, no, keep him on. Keep him on the pack. I understood why he took him off. I just thought it was bold. I thought it was a bold decision from Lee Johnson, and one that on perhaps another day it could have worked, it could have paid off. He had to do something, he did do something, and given the personnel that was on the bench, could he have done an awful lot more? Really?
Yeah, I think it's one of them where he's almost damned if he does, damned if he doesn't, because you've got people who are saying, oh, why would you make a change half an hour in? That's you admitting that you've got the team wrong, blah, 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 blah. But those same people, if he had left it till after half time, are the exact same people that say, well, why didn't you make the change earlier? We need somebody that's going to make a decision in the big moment. So I agree with the change, although it is, and I think he's even said that it's almost admitting that he did get the team selection wrong. But I'm still glad that he made the changes. I'd rather him make the changes then and there. I really did feel sorry for young Del Fiera, because to get hooked after, I knew he was going to get hooked. If it wasn't earlier, it would have been half time at least that he would have got hooked, because he made, I think he went about 5 or 6 passes in a row, or incomplete passes in a row, where he either put it out of the park or gave it to a St Mirren shirt. But I think fair enough. At least he's bold. At least he's done it. At least he's made the change rather than just sitting on it until half time.
No, absolutely. I think exactly like you said, Mark. Damned if he does and damned if he doesn't. You know, he has made the change, and you know, you feel at the time it's maybe a positive change. You know, he's trying to change the shape. He's obviously wanting to then go and attack St Mirren. Shaun, I don't know how it looked from the telly, but I mean, I'm not going to lie, my concentration wasn't really on the football. I was more bothered about getting Peppa Pig on the iPad for the Bairn. But how did it look? Like, how did that then change the way we played for the rest of the half?
I didn't see much of a change. I saw obviously a change in shape. We just seemed to go longer more often, and just try and started to chase the game a lot earlier as well. The stream kept buffering as well, so the quality of the match, the quality of my stream probably was just as bad as the quality of the match that you were seeing. I just, as Mark mentioned about loads of misplaced passes, like we couldn't string any passes together, never mind just Alan Del Fiera. Like Joe Newell, Doyle Hayes, Stevenson, Hanlon, like simple 5-yard passes. There's loads of balls that got played out wide to Eli Yuan that were short for the midfield three, and it was just really, really frustrating. It was clear that even then we were going to struggle to get anything out of the match. So I didn't really see much of a change. They must have got a bollock in at half time, and rightly so, because we came out with a bit of fire in our belly.
We did come out with a wee bit of fire in our belly, but listen, I thought it was still a nothing game up until we scored. Like St Mirren were happy, and it looked like we were happy to just be involved. Obviously, we get the goal just after 70 minutes. I thought it was a really good run from Doidge, and then Big Alf in the middle. It was a really nice ball.
Really good finish.
Yeah, really good finish. It felt like it took about 5 minutes to trundle into the back of the net. I said that in Mark and I's group chat with some of the boys that Adam Lafondra is one of these players that he's not going to be your star signing, your star forward, but chances are with the experience that he's got, I mean, the boy kens where the net is, and he's probably going to get us 7 or 10 goals this season. I think he's going to be a really big player, you know, coming off the bench, and especially in these big moments when we need someone to do something. It was great from Doidge and an even better finish from Lafondra. And I was delighted for him to get off the mark, because, you know, you don't want a striker to be, you know, going 5-6 games, competitive games without scoring. And so it's good that he's off the mark. And like you said, it was a tremendous finish.
Brilliant goal. Do you know what? I was actually really surprised that it went in, because I thought, so at first when Doidge put it in, and to put that pass in is so difficult, because you've got to have the perfect position in behind the defender but in front of the goalie, but still got enough pace on it to make, you know what I mean? There's so many aspects that can go wrong. I thought, oh, you've played that far too early. Absolutely perfect pass. And I thought that's still a really difficult finish. And he's managed to get in the bottom corner. So I thought that was a brilliant goal. But do you know what? Fair play to Doidge, because he was
I
my
thought
man
Doidge
of the
was
match
great,
by
yeah.
far. And he looked like a man playing for his jersey, because Lee Johnson essentially came out and said that he's not in his plans. Yeah, he started the last 2 games. For me, that's like Terry Butcher-esque. Like telling a man that that is credit to Doidge's character. The fact that he's still putting in absolutely everything, running for every ball. And he thought he was the only real one that offered us anything, in terms of his aerial presence. He got the assist, he got his goal. He worked his absolute backside off for the full 90 minutes. So, fair play to him.
Yeah, I thought he was great. He said in his post-match as well, Shaun, he said he's turned down offers to leave. Like Mark says, obviously he wasn't in the plans for this season. I think it says as much, being stripped of the number 9 jersey. When it comes down to it, he said he loves playing for Hibs and he wants to fight for his place here. That's the kind of attitude that we need from the players to be at this club, and I don't see why we would try and ship him out the door when he's got that attitude. And he's clearly got he's got the knack of finding the back of the net. We've seen it for the past 3 or 4 years. When he's played for Hibs, he's got, I don't know, maybe about 30 goals in his time at Hibs ish in all comps. So I don't understand why then we would be looking to move him on. I don't think I can't see that we would get a big fee for him.
I'd sooner get Elkerson at the door, to be honest.
Don't want to accept mediocrity and try and improve our team, I guess, would probably be my shout.
I know, but is he mediocre?
Yes.
I think he's a good squad player. Well,
I think he's definitely a good option to have. I mean, if you look at, I love him to pieces, but Harry McCurdy, no one's saying, oh, we should be looking to move him on. I ken he's injured and he's got his health problems at the moment, but surely Christian Doidge has got more credit in the bank than Melkerson, McCurdy, Tavares, people like that.
But you're still listing players that we should be looking to move on, though. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. I do get it, but I think
we have to move on.
I think he's good to have in and around.
Don't get me wrong, like his attitude is great, and he's been our best player so far this season. But the reason for that is because of how below par a lot of other people have been, and the fact that he's been given a chance because Dylan Venti was away doing his standard grades at the weekend. You know what I mean? But he would have been.
I know, but listen, he was given a chance. I mean, if we decide Dylan Venti or not, and regardless of the fact that he wasn't eligible to play, he still had to then he's still got to take that chance.
Fair play. Grabbed it, got an assist, got a goal. Well done. We managed to get 0 points at the game, and we were on our way to getting something at the game until
we're
caught at the back.
No, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about his performance and trying to, I think he's got more than enough credit in the bank to be given another shot at Hibs. I thought, I was saying it to my old man, I thought it was pretty poor the way that he was shipped out to Kilmarnock last season, a struggling Kilmarnock side. And I didn't feel like he could really make an impact there. Rather than, I felt like it was a bit of a lack of respect towards Christian Doidge, given how much he'd given to the club in his time here. But no, I'd be more than happy.
Underrated, I really do think he's massively underrated. I don't think he's not going to score you a worldie for 40 yards, but he see what he offers in terms of holding the ball up and winning everything in the air.
It's something that we don't have in any other players.
I think he's his IQ. He's really intelligent on the park, and like I said, he's not going to be our star striker. He's not going to be starting every single week, but I certainly think he can offer it, especially if we're chasing a game or even if we're holding on to a lead. He's going to give you something that a lot of strikers can't give you in terms of that physical, holding up the ball, bringing in players like Boyle and Yuan and whatnot. And
absolutely,
he was just unfortunate that the Hibs team was really poor, because if we had been on our playing well, if everyone else around him had played up to the standard of Doidge, not only would we have won, but Doidge could have got himself another goal or another assist or whatever.
Absolutely,
and he finds himself in all those positions. Like, I agree with Mark in regards to his footballing ability upstairs. He has obviously lost a bit since his injury. It's no coincidence he finds himself in that position. I just think that we need to be doing better in And
No,
that's
but
it.
can
I
we-
think, to be fair,
listen, can we really afford to be?
Doidge is the least of the problems at the moment. Do you know what I mean?
This is what I'm saying. I mean, I don't think our priority should be shipping Doidge out the door. Our
Yeah, I
priority
think
should be
Melkerson. I'd get rid of Melkerson.
even. I think Melkerson could do it, even just alone. But I mean, I think it was a bit far fetched the fact that he went out to Sparta Rotterdam last season in the Eredivisie. I mean, I think that was
0 games.
yeah, I think that was far too high a standard for him to then make an impact. He needs to be going to Scottish Championship. He needs to be playing in Scotland to then be effective in Scotland. IMO. Do you think?
Like
Yeah,
a Livingston.
Livingston, no, not on that pitch, man. I suppose he's used to the plastic pitches, you know?
Livingston or Dunfermline and keep him local. But he'll probably, it depends on whether he's going to learn more by doing that or learn more from Adam Lafondra. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, listen, we're going to move on to the next goal. It was a wee bit of pinball in the box. And I've not actually watched the goals back because I can't be bothered. But, a bit of pinball in the box, and it's just one of these ones, and it falls to Doidge, and it is actually a fairly decent finish. The fact that he manages to get it past the goalie. And then at that point, I was thinking there's only one winner here, and it's Hibs, and it's got Hibs winner written all over it. And I think we probably could have got there, but for committing far too many men forward and getting hit on the break.
I know it's cliche, but I mean, how many times do you see it? How many times can it go either way when you throw everything up and you can either go and get the winner and win the game, but there's always a risk that you're going to get caught in the counter-attack. And again, I have to give St Mirren their flowers, because I tell you what, in terms of counter-attack, that was phenomenal. I think there was maybe 3 passes for the goalie up until the goal was scored. Like, if you're a coach trying to coach a counter-attacking move to your players, you should show that goal, because everything from the goalie passing it up, right direct up the pitch, and then an unbelievable cross. Didn't get me wrong, it's poor defending, like, admittedly, but how many times do you see a scenario like that when it can go either way? When you throw caution to the wind, there's always a risk that you're going to get caught, and that's exactly what happened. It's football, isn't it? It's just one of these things.
Yeah, it looked to me, Shaun, that St Mirren had already played half a season. That's how sharp they were. It's like, even going into the final few minutes, they were so sharp. It was an excellent cross into the box, a brilliant header, and you hate to see it. You hate to see, obviously, last minute winners against your own team at home. But even if we had the defenders and the players back, I'm not too sure there's an awful lot we actually could have done about it.
I think the ball in the box, like you said, is a brilliant ball in the box. The delivery is pinpoint. It's just a shame that it was Dylan Levitt, I think, couldn't have done more to cross the ball. So there's maybe a wee bit on him for that. Don't know if I'm being too harsh to stop the cross, not necessarily the quality of the cross. What kind of frustrated me was the lack of communication between Jago, Fish, and I'm not in any way, shape or form saying Hanlon's at fault here, but like just the reading of the game between the two, maybe even the 3 of them, or even Marshall as well, because Jago's caught between 2 minds. Obviously, Hanlon's coming back, doesn't go to the front post, and again, I'm not blaming Hanlon here, but then Jago, because of the way Hanlon's getting back, Jago doesn't know, do I go front, do I go back? So maybe Will Fish should be able to try and read that situation a bit better and maybe give Jago a shout, or vice versa. Jago can give someone else a shout, or Marshall could maybe try and read it and try and just get in a better position, because he goes to go one way, goes the other, and then all he does is just does a wee pivot, and then he's in between the two and can't even stop the cross. So it was very frustrating to see, and I do think that if the shape was better or there was a bit of communication better in the middle of the park, then the header could have been prevented.
See, just on that, Shaun, I'm just wondering, would you blame Hanlon or not? I'm not too sure if you would or not.
I seen someone slating Paul Hanlon for it, and it baffled me.
It's just always the same. As soon as we lose a game, it's the most predictable script in the world. As soon as we lose a game, all you have to do is jump in online, and the 2 names you'll see are Stevenson and Hanlon. Like, it's just so predictable. It's unbelievable.
Just final couple of bits on that St Mirren game. You touched on Levitt there, Sean. I thought when Levitt came on, he actually looked pretty decent. He was trying to make things happen, get the ball forward, try and be a little bit more direct. I think he is maybe a player that will come out of his shell a little bit more the more the season goes on. I'm not too sure we can rely on him completely at this moment in time, but there is definitely a very, very good player in there.
Yeah, I don't think we can rely on him in the 6th position, which is where I think we're going to be playing him quite a lot. And my concern with that is he then just going to fall into the trap of, being a hindrance to the other two that are there and vice versa, and then lo and behold we have the same issue again where balance isn't right between the three. Do you know what I mean? I would like to see, instead of like a 4-3-3, just
he
like
came on in the
2-3-1 and put Levitt a bit further forward and a bit more creative.
He came on in the 10 against Inter Descaldes, as well, didn't he?
Aye, but what I'm saying, that's where I think he should be playing. That's the quality that I think he has, and he has the ability to play there. And then I think it's just a case of trying to get the balance either side of him correct, or even putting someone that's more of a holder on their own, whether it be Alan Delfier or Jego or Newell or JDH on their own, and then play like Levitt and Campbell further forward. So it's more like a 4-1-4-1 kind of thing. So you've got Yuan, Boyle on either side, striker up top, and then like Levitt and another attacker in there as well, and just try and get forward a bit more. Because I felt like all the games that I've watched of Hibs so far this season, apart from the home leg, where obviously we scored 6 goals, we just didn't seem to be able to break teams down properly or create enough once we got over the halfway line, which is very concerning. And I think Levitt has that creative ability about him, where once we're in that final third or over the halfway line, he has that pass about him. And I get the whole deep lying playmaker bit and playing long balls and spraying it about there, but I just think he'd be a bit better further forward.
In the Scott Allen sort of role.
Kind of.
I thought he looked poor yesterday, to be honest.
Do you think so?
I
don't
remember him doing anything.
To say the world of light, but there was a couple of instances where I thought he got his foot on the ball. He was trying to make things happen, and you could see that he's got that vision to then slip that ball through. He does remind me a little bit of Scott Allen, a little bit, but I mean, I think you could have put anyone in that midfield, and they probably wouldn't have made an awful lot of an impact yesterday. Just quickly, a very, very quick answer from the both of you is Lee Johnson's job under pressure now?
From the fans, yes. From the board,
no. I think he's always under pressure from the fans. I think any manager's always under pressure. It's always the same when you lose a game. There's always a huge portion of fans that say, "Oh, get him out the door." Whether it's Lee Johnson, Jack Ross, Sean Maloney, it doesn't matter who it's been. It's always a huge pressure as soon as we lose one game. But I don't think he's. Yeah, like Sean said, I don't think he's under pressure from the board. I think it's the fans. But in saying that, if we go on and lose to Motherwell and get knocked out of Europe, then it's a really tough start to the season. And what really worries me is when you start the season poorly, it's really hard to recover from that. Mm-hmm. It gets you off on the wrong foot, considering, we looked and said, we've not really got any difficult games until October. If we can't win these games and Motherwell and all that, then what can we really expect from the season?
Exactly. But we do have Europe on Thursday, lads, back at Easter Road. Mark, will you be sitting in the famous 5 lower with Block 7 again?
No. Felt like I was being robbed. I kept getting told to put my hands up the last time I was there. So I
was fucking knackered.
I'm too old.
When I got home.
It was brilliant.
Jesus.
They've done an amazing job. They've done a really, really good job. But I'm looking forward to seeing them now for the West Stand rather than being in the middle of
it. No, it was, and they were brilliant. And from the pictures that I've seen of last Thursday, it looked great with all the flags and stuff. Albeit we couldn't really see the game for the flags, but that's the price you pay. If you stand in the singing section, you're going to have to stand behind a flag more than likely. I've been told that the noise was good. Sean, you were sitting in the east, were you?
No, I was watching the house. So I had.
You were watching the house. You were watching Sunday in the house. Are you going to bother going on Thursday or what?
I'm not going.
I'm surprised that you've even turned up tonight to talk about it.
I didn't want to, if I'm honest.
You're not
I
going on
really,
Thursday.
really, I'm just being honest. I really, really did not want to.
I'm rapidly falling in love with football.
You're right. Insert it here. Nah, Son came up on Thursday, and I only caught the last 3 minutes of the game.
The last
So
3 minutes.
and then it was added on time. Yeah, by the time I got in the house, I then had to go back out again. Didn't get back until last 3 minutes. So I missed all of it. Just got the highlights.
Missed all the good bits.
This is there, so.
Aye, so me and Mark will be returning to our humble seats in the West Lower
In the Prawn Sandwich Brigade.
for Thursday, and we'll be thankfully sitting down. My legs, I don't think, could take another week of standing for 90 minutes. See, the first 5 minutes, we're like, oh, this is Barry, this is class. And then, like, as the game wore on, getting to 75, 80 minutes, I was kind of like, oh, fucking hell, I'm knackered here. I was like, I can give you my voice, I can sing, but I can't give you my arms. And they kept going, if you're no bouncing, you're no Hibs away. And me and Mark, we just kept bending our knees. We're like, I can't do it anymore.
I've not got the knees to do that anyway, regardless of how tired I was.
No, but so Luzern on Thursday. Mark, can you take me through the changes, tactical, personnel-wise, that you would make for Thursday?
I think I would probably start Miller if he's fit. I'd go back to a back four with Miller, Stevenson, I suppose, Hanlon and Fish. I would probably take out Josh Campbell and put in Dylan Levitt. I'd love to take JDH out, but I don't really know who replaces him, to be honest. Unless you put Campbell in his place and then put Levitt a bit further forward, and then hopefully, I don't know, is Venti ready to play yet?
He's in contention according to.
I don't
Lee
know.
Johnson.
Oh, is he?
He said it in his interview. Yeah, one of his many interviews that he'd done after the match.
Right.
He mentioned that he's in contention, so he must have passed his exams.
We
Well
could
done,
even try
Dan.
something different and put like Yuan in the hole and then play like Boyle and Doige up front, or Boyle and Lafondra up front, something like that, rather than playing two wingers, because we had no success whatsoever playing two wingers.
I think it's absolutely, you said it earlier on, Mark, it's absolutely vital that we at least take a draw from this game over to Switzerland, at least a point going into the next leg. You know what I mean? It's if we lose, I think we're fucked. If we draw, we give ourselves a chance. If we win, we give ourselves a huge chance. I've had a little look at Lucerne. I don't know an awful lot about them. I had never heard of them until a couple of weeks ago. They play in the Swiss League, Shaun, and they are currently, I'll tell you exactly where they are. After 3 games, they sit 7th.
Mm-hmm.
They've won 1, drawn 1, lost 1, and they've got a goal difference of 3.
They finished 4th last year.
They finished 4th last year. I mean, that's in a league that has Young Boys, St Gallen, Basel. They finished ahead of St Gallen, Basel, and Grasshoppers, and the FC Zurich. So I think could you file them into under no mugs?
I think so. Hopefully we've learned our lessons for the first leg of the last round.
It's clever.
I've had a look at their squad as well, and the only player that I actually recognise is the boy Max Meyer, who I believe Shaun used to play for Crystal Palace.
I recognise that name. I think he did, yeah.
Schalke? I think Schalke as well he played for. Having a look at him here. Yep, German, played for Schalke and Crystal Palace.
Fantastic ball knowledge from you, as expected.
Yeah. That's the only, and I think that's only just from FIFA career mode that I know that's who he's played for, because I think he used to be half decent when he was really young. That's the only player that I recognise from their side, and exactly like you said, I hope we've learnt our lessons, that we don't underestimate them. I think Lee Johnson and the players would probably be going into this fixture, Mark, anyway, with a little bit a little bit more, I don't want to say care, because I feel like they still cared in the first leg against the Andorrans, but they're maybe going in with a little bit more awareness that we actually need to turn up here and give these Swiss boys a right good doing.
Yeah, I think as well, now that the season's officially started, it no longer feels like pre-season as well, whereas I think the Andorrans, because of the level of opposition, the time of the year it was at, we hadn't even kicked off normal season. I think it felt like a pre-season friendly, whereas this is obviously a major step up in competition, so we know that if we show up like we did in the first leg of the Andorrans, we'll get absolutely turned over. And I think knowing that obviously ups the level of concentration for the players and the staff and all that kind of stuff. So I think, like you said, it's so important that we don't get beat at home, that we give ourselves a chance going into the away leg, because I fancy us to probably put in a better performance over in Switzerland than I do at Easter Road, to be honest. I always feel more confident away from home. But if we give ourselves a chance, I'm not saying that we need to win the game comfortably or that, but just a narrow lead or even a draw going into the second leg, I think just gives us a good chance.
Yeah, we just need to make sure that we set ourselves up for going over there and the tie not being over. If we go over there 2-0, 3-0 down, then we go over and it's it's a dead rubber, really, isn't it? Like, we're not going to turn them over in the own backyard. Chances are, if we're going to go through, we're going to have to do a lot of the legwork on Thursday night. Shaun, I don't know how you feel about it. Would you have rathered to be at home first or away first?
I think, considering the level of opposition we're playing, I'm normally a massive fan of at home second leg, but considering the level of opposition that we're up against, I think playing at home is probably the better option in this instance, especially after the result of the weekend. I think if we had not had any issues whatsoever in the last round and we had won at the weekend, then I think maybe going away would have been all right, because we were on a high. We hadn't had any issues in the previous round, and we could have went there and maybe tried to shut up shop. Martin Boyle and Ellie Yuan, two wide outlets, and went more like a 5-3-2 and just punted it long to them to run on. We might end up doing that on Thursday, but I actually think we need to win on Thursday to stand a chance. I don't think if we go over there, I think it'll be very, very difficult to either stop them scoring or outscore them on their own patch. So, listen, I hope we do play like Ellie Yuan and maybe Boyle up top, maybe the two, and try and sit in deep at Easter Road and try and catch them. But I do think that we need to get the win.
Exactly. We need our best players on the pitch, because our best players on the pitch are going to give us the best result. I was just sitting here thinking there, Mark, do you think do you think the fact that, and this is going to sound stupid, it's going to sound like a real stupid thing, but I'm going to say it anyway. Do you think the fact that we got beat against the Andorrans away and we got beat on Sunday there, do you think that then gives us an extra level of, one, motivation, but two, concentration, and making sure that we don't want to be in that position again? Do you think if we'd comfortably beat Inter away and we'd have beat St Mirren yesterday, I don't know, 2-3-0, 2-3-1, do you think that would have then
false sense of security?
Aye, like complacency could have creeped in? I think now that there's no complacency in the squad, because they know that if they don't play well, they will get beat.
Yeah, I think it's a reality check, and I think almost in a way, I'm not saying that, I'm glad we got beat yesterday, but I think we suffer from arrogance. I think we're a real arrogant team, and we've no right to be arrogant at all. I think there's often times where we do show up and we just think we can, as long as we show up, we can get the win. And I don't know if that's because Lee Johnson's an arrogant man or if that's just the way we've been for a while, but I think yesterday will give us a reality check that if we come up against a well-organised side and don't play to our best, then we'll get turned over, which is exactly what happened in that first 45. So I'm hoping that it's given us a bit of a wake-up call to think, right, we need to be on the ball, like you said, concentration for the get-go, knowing fine well as we're kind of a better side than St Mirren on Thursday. This is a proper European team that's done well in a much more difficult league than Scottish football. So Yeah, I agree. I think it does hopefully give us a bit of a kick up the arse.
Yeah, it sounds mental to say it out loud, but you know, you're kind of hoping that we can turn those negatives into positives, Sean. I'm not too sure how you feel about it.
No, I completely agree. Very, very valid point. And I hope, pray to God that you're right, and I hope that they do turn it up, because we've not really got out of first, maybe even second gear at times. Yeah, very, very tough team selection for Lee Johnson. Huge team
Absolutely.
selection for him.
And listen, lads, if we go through Aston Villa, I'm not too sure if the first leg would be at home or if it would be at Villa Park. I didn't watch the draw today, so I'm not too sure who was first out the pot. But
At the moment, unless there's a change due to Hearts being drawn at home, at the moment on the 24th we would be at home, and then on the 31st we'd be down at Villa Park.
that would be some tie.
Down at Villa Park.
That would be some tie if we can get there, and it's a big if. It's a big if. I don't want anyone going, oh, the Hibs Ramble are saying that Hibs are going to beat Luzern and
But
go
what
and
you're
play
saying is we're
Aston
going to beat
Villa.
them.
I'm not saying that at all, Sean, because I don't want to be clipped and displayed all over the internet saying absolutely ridiculous things. But Villa, that would be some time, Mark, eh?
Incredible away day. I reckon we'll take, if we do end up getting through, I reckon we'd take about 10,000 out to Birmingham.
Yeah.
Honestly, we'd take an absolute squad. That would be a special away day. I think we'd get absolutely turned over spectacularly, but it will still be one for the books, because they're a top. My bold prediction to one of my mates, I always make a bold prediction for the English season, and my bold prediction this season is that Aston Villa will finish in the top 4 of the English Premier League.
Really?
I think they're that good. So I think
under Unai Emery, they'll probably win the conference as well.
they're proper contenders to win the whole thing. So
yeah,
we probably
especially
couldn't have got
after
a tougher
West
tie.
Ham last season.
Yeah, he's a European master as well, but we probably couldn't have got a tougher tie. But do you know what? That's what European football's all about. Having, you know, a good trip down to Villa or whatever, and just making the most of it. You've seen Hearts in fairly recent years when they played teams like Spurs and Liverpool and whatnot. Like that's where you want to be. So we'll make a go at it. But we need to get past Luzern first, which is no easy feat.
Absolutely, no, it's no easy feat. I came across a tweet earlier on, and I'm going to ask you both. I'm not too sure if these are the only players to have played for both Hibs and Aston Villa, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 players on this list.
I've seen the tweet.
Right, you've seen the tweet, so you're not allowed to answer. But Mark, how many of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? How many of the 8 players that have played for both Hibs and Aston Villa do you think you could name?
1.
I think I could have named 4 that's on that list before I seen it. In fact, no, I would have been able to name 4, and I think Mark will be able to name 3.
What's his name? Did De La Cruz no sign for Aston Villa?
Yeah.
Obviously, John McGinn.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen Fletcher played for Villa, not?
No, he was Burnley.
Honestly, that's the only 2 that I can think of right now.
We've got 2 in our current squad.
In our squad?
That have been at Villa.
No.
I don't think either made the first
Jake Hayes. He's played at Villa. 2 in our current squad. Obita?
No.
Could be here for a while. McCarthy.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to do that. I said, when did Fish play for Villa?
I wouldn't have got Doyle Hayes or McCurdy. I would have got Didier Agat and Grant Holt.
Yeah, so the list is Jake Doyle Hayes, Harry McCurdy, John McGinn, Isaiah Osborne, remember him?
Oh, Christ.
Grant Holt, Didier Agat, De La Cruz, and Des Bremner. I'm not too sure if that's the only players that have played for both Hibs.
I think someone in the replies mentioned
Cropley.
But I couldn't imagine.
And Joe Ward, apparently.
I'm sure Cropley did play for Villa in the
Burridge.
Must have been the late 70s.
Did Burridge play for Villa? Let's look this up. John Burridge. Let me tell you right now. He played. Oh my God, he played for so many teams.
Excluding Mark, excluding John McGinn, who's your favourite out of that list? Just while Liam's looking at the full list.
He did play for Aston Villa, John Burridge.
To be honest, a lot of them are either pish or before my time, but I'm just going to go with Dela Cruz.
Because he scored against Hearts.
Aye, and because he's our record signing.
Joint record signing now, if reports are to be believed. Liam, what about you?
Harry McCurdy.
Of course.
Without a shadow of a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt, Harry McCurdy. But listen, Aston Villa. When you saw the teams that we could have got like put up against, I don't think there's a winnable tie there. If we managed to scrape through against Luzern, I genuinely don't think that there was a winnable tie out of any of the teams.
I saw it, and the only team I wanted was Villa.
I know. I said the exact same before it, that I would absolutely love if we do end up getting through. Villa will be incredible. Like that'll be one for the memory.
Yeah, one for the ages. Because see when it gets to that stage and you're like, oh well, we're not going to beat any of these teams. You just want a good trip.
Villa Park, like just iconic stadium, like probably what?
Actually, I would say one of the most underrated stadiums in English football.
Yeah, we'll probably get a good allocation as well. And like I said, we'll take a hell of a lot more than our allocation down to Birmingham.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, we'll move on swiftly to our listener questions.
Now it's time to answer the Hibs Ramble listener questions.
So, first up, John McIntosh, what is for dinner?
I had a creamy mash pie with veg. Yeah.
Creamy mashed pie with veg in, yeah.
I was going to say what the veg was, but didn't bother.
You realise that we really don't care.
Nah, because it's not pasta, so you didn't care.
I didn't care when it's pasta either, to be honest, Sean. Mark, what did you have?
I had a wee bit of a twist on a gyros tonight.
Ooh,
with some chicken, and I made like a sauce. It was just like Greek yogurt with like garlic and lemon juice and stuff like that.
Oh, like
some
tzatziki?
Yeah, and then some sweet potato fries in the air fryer, and then some vegetables on the side. It was rather lovely, I have to say.
I don't really like sweet potato fries, you know.
Well, it was like we just cut up sweet potatoes into little cubes and put them in the air fryer, and they were quite nice.
I've never really been able to get behind sweet potato fries. It's just I've tried them a few times, and I'm just like,
Big fan.
They look like chips, but you know when you eat them, they're no chips. So
they just taste sweeter than chips.
Yeah, and who wants a sweet chip?
Just put a bit of salt on it.
No, if I wanted sweet chips, I'd have chips and sugar. You know what I mean? Simple as. It's really not very healthy. And what else is not healthy is the fact I'm having nachos for dinner tonight. I've got some fresh mozzarella that I'm going to cut up and pop over some sour cream, some guacamole. I'm very much looking forward to it. And the jalapenos that I didn't put through my stovies last week. I'm going to put them on my nachos as well.
That sounds delightful.
Well, do you want me to send you a picture of it, Mark, when I've made it?
Please.
I'll put a picture in the Ramble chat, Sean. You can tell me what you think. See if it looks better than your mashed pie with vegetables, and yeah. Next up, Ali's asking, do you think a strike partnership would work better for us? Doige and Adam Lafondra linked up well for the first goal yesterday. Would you like to see that tried from the start on Thursday?
I wouldn't want it chosen ahead of a fully fit Boyle and Yuan.
Mark?
What was the question, sorry?
Do you think a strike partnership between Doige and Adam Lafondra would be something you'd like to see from the start on Thursday?
Don't really know. It's certainly like an interesting thought of potentially going to like a 4-4-2 with Boyle and Yuan playing, either side of midfield, and then Lafondra and Doige playing up top. It's certainly an interesting concept, but probably not on Thursday, considering we're not used to that formation.
I think we might see a surprise or two come the time the lineup comes out on Thursday, because obviously Lee Johnson and the scouting team will know a lot more about Luzern and how they want to face up against them. So we might see a couple of surprises to try and combat the way that they play to then benefit us. So, it's difficult to really predict at this moment in time, especially against a team that you've never seen play before. Next up, Gav Dick. And listen, son, I'm not going to slate your grammar here. He says, well, a poor start to the league. Thoughts on Lee Johnson's tactics? Can't believe he's been here a year and he still doesn't know his best team. And his tactics are shite, in my opinion. Who wants to kick off?
I can't really disagree with any of that, if I'm honest, Gav.
I think his tactics were poor on Sunday, for sure, definitely. But I think, there's been times throughout his career at Hibs there that I think that he's actually played it perfectly and got his tactics spot on. A manager at this level is never going to have perfect games every game. It's just a shame that we've kicked off the season on a negative note.
Yeah, I don't even see the tactics. I still, a year in, don't really understand
what he's trying to get.
What he's trying to do, because we've got the shape and the players to play a lot down the wings and balls into the box and all that, but we don't often actually play that direct. So whether that's him not getting his message across or the players not doing it properly, I don't know. But still, a year on, we still play a lot of the same stuff that we did under Jack Ross and Sean Maloney. So whether that's a personnel issue or it is just him not being able to get his message across, but yeah, I'm still failing to see his style of football.
Yeah. Doogie is asking, is it just me that thinks when Adam Lafondra came on, we were much better? Also, is Marshall's time up and the same for Lee Johnson? I think when Adam Lafondra came on, we did look like a better team. Obviously, he scored the goal, but I said it earlier, I think he's one of these players, he's got bags and bags and bags of experience. He's scored goals wherever he's been, and you don't have a career as long as his and scored as many goals as he has if you're not, one, a good goal scorer, but two, a good player anyway. There's no point in us taking a punt on a 36-year-old Adam Lafondra. We don't think he's going to benefit the players around him. So I can completely agree that we did look better when Lafondra came on.
Yeah, I liked us when we moved to two up front, and like what the first question said, that we could potentially have two strikers on Thursday. But I'm not a huge fan of 4-3-3. I don't like having two wingers and a striker in the middle unless you play really direct down the channels, constantly spraying balls into a big striker, a big target man. I'm just not a huge fan of it. I much prefer having two strikers that can work off each other, like Doidge and Nisbet, or even Boyle and Nisbet, something like that. So that's why I think we look so much better when Doidge had somebody next to him that he could lay it off to, or that they could hold it up and Doidge could make the runs in. And you've seen it, Doidge assisting Lafondra for the first one, and then Doidge got his second.
Yeah. Shaun, what about the second part of Dougie's question? He says, is Marshall and Johnson's time up?
Well, I didn't want to see Marshall in goals at the weekend.
I was surprised, to be honest.
Very, very surprised. I'm assuming the whole Murray Johnson recall is because we need to have three goalkeepers on the bench for the European game. But then again, just kind of feel bad for the lad. Do you know what I mean?
I think is the deal not that he comes back for now and then
I would hope so.
Goes back again?
I would hope there's an agreement there or whatever.
I would imagine so. I think it would be best for Hibs, it'd be best for Queens, and it'd be best for Murray Johnson.
Yeah. I think, just to get back to your actual question, I would have liked to have seen Boric play at the weekend. I know the one goal that we conceded during the week was a really, really well taken goal. Why are we then trying to rush Marshall back when, if he's that important, Lee Johnson could have just rested him, took the hit, no one would have batted an eyelid. Boric would have played, and then if Marshall was fit for this upcoming Thursday's game, he could have just played him then. And then again, no one probably would have batted an eyelid. So, yeah, I think slowly but surely Marshall's time is dwindling away. I think it came to an end a while ago, if I'm honest. I think the tail end of last season. I don't want to see it happen, but I would be very interested to see what it would take for the board to get rid of Lee Johnson, because they ain't getting rid of him anytime soon. I think now the vast majority of the support is Johnson out. I would probably go as far as to say maybe 70% of the support is 80%.
Are you Johnson out?
I'm neither here nor there now, if I'm honest. I just want Hibs to do well. I don't really care who's in charge. But considering the amount of money that we've spent this summer, he ain't going anywhere, barring an absolute disaster. And even then, he had 2 or 3 disasters last season, didn't get sacked. So we'll see.
I think Mark has said that time and time again, we need the stability. And we're not going to get the stability by sacking a manager every year. You know what I mean? So
ultimately,
he also needed to be the right manager as well.
Of course.
Saying
But
needed to be the right one.
Ultimately, it's a results business. I know that's so cliche, but like it is a results business. And I said last season that this is the season where he needs to prove himself. I think he was never going to get sacked in the first season. He's had a full summer now to bring in his own players. The vast majority of the squad now is his players, or players that he wants to keep around to fit into his team. So if he still can't get the results, and we still are really inconsistent and going through spells of sort of 5-6 games out a win and flirting with sort of bottom 6, that kind of stuff, early exits from the cups, things like that, then, as much as I defend Lee Johnson and don't want to see him sacked, there's only so much defending you can do. And at a big club like Hibs, we should be fighting, at least getting the Hampden, at least, fighting for top 3. I don't think Aberdeen are anything special, and I certainly don't think Hearts are anything special. So we wasted a huge opportunity last season. All we needed was a little bit more consistency, and we would have finished at least 4th. It would be such a shame now that, it's not going to last very long. 3rd place getting guaranteed European football group stages. That'll be gone within the next couple of years because our coefficiency is taking a beating. So it would be a shame for us to waste that opportunity to get into the group stages by not finishing 3rd against, for me, pretty poor sides next to us.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up, Lewis Connor says, what did you guys think of the overall performance? For me, a poor start to the league campaign, and we weren't at it from the start, and I feel Johnson is under pressure already. Also, can Mark confirm if he was in the Wetherspoons neck to Waverley after the game, as I'm sure we spoke?
I was in the Wetherspoons. I can't remember speaking to anyone, but I was in the Wetherspoons, so apologies, I was a little bit intoxicated.
Well, you must have spoke to Lewis. I'm sure Lewis will get back in touch and let us know what we're talking about, because he can clearly remember.
I really can't remember. I don't remember. I don't think we would have had like a proper conversation, because it's not like I can't remember the night, but must have just been like a wee passing comment. I don't know. Can't remember. But please enlighten us.
Seems
probably
like it was
probably
a
been
full-on conversation.
I bet he's going, oh, are you Mark for the Ramble? And you're
No,
going,
we never spoke, because
and you're going, listen, honestly, I'm trying to have a good night, mate.
No, because I can't remember speaking to anyone about like the Ramble at that, because I definitely would have remembered that. So I don't know if it was just like a wee passing comment or something.
I think we've covered your first couple of points anyway, Lewis. So we'll move on to Jack Hibs, and he says, should we start the team that started the second half on Thursday? No, I can't remember what the 11 was that started the second half.
I would like to see a beater start, but I'd kind of want him to start ahead of Stevenson, just for something fresh and for something different.
Yeah, I think
I'd love to see us changing up the attacking line as well, rather than just going for that like sort of predictable 2 wingers and a striker. I'd love to see us going with 2 strikers and then maybe Boyle and Yuan a little bit, like in either side of the midfield, something like that.
Like a 4-2-2-2.
Aye, or even just a 4-4-2, a classic 4-4-2.
That'll get us through in Europe. Brexit ball.
Exactly.
Think you'll love to see
British football.
Rudy has said, can someone tell me why Marshall's being blamed for the goal? Lost the ball in midfield, sloppy defending and not tracking the runner. He lost out on the 1v1. Can't blame him for everything. Anyway, Johnson's decision making is absolutely questionable. Playing Boyle right back mostly. I think the goal he's talking about is his second goal. I don't think you can really attribute much blame to Marshall for that. I think that's a... I mean,
Goalkeeper's not meant to keep clean sheets, no?
No, but it's a defensive lapse.
I know, I'm
isn't it,
joking,
really?
I'm joking.
I mean, he's not really got much of a chance when it comes down to it.
Should have done better for the third goal, IMO.
For the third goal, he probably could have done better, but even still, I think it's a very well taken goal, and I mean, you'd struggle to. I mean, even if he got a hand to it, you'd struggle to keep it out. And he's saying Johnson's decision making is questionable. Playing Boyle at right back mostly. I mean, we've gone over it about 100 times that his decision making is questionable at times. But listen, he's trying to make the decisions that are going to have a positive impact. There's absolutely no way Lee Johnson was sitting on the sidelines there on Sunday afternoon talking to Jamie McAllister and go, listen, I'm going to put Jordan a beat on because I think it's going to make us shite. Like he's making the decisions, the hard decisions, albeit he's not getting every single one of them right. He's not Pep Guardiola. He's not Jurgen Klopp. He's not Tony Mowbray. So listen, he's not going to get all of these decisions right, but he's got the cojones to actually make the decisions, Shaun.
Correct. Pep Guardiola also didn't get it right the weekend.
Because what did you do, Shaun? You sat in your house doing absolutely nothing. So what have you got to moan about?
The team I support, eh?
Next up, we've got Earlston Loon, and he says JDH, Newell, and Campbell didn't work a year ago. They didn't work now. Who should be the midfield?
Do you know what? I absolutely could not agree more with that statement. And I've said it a million times before. If you keep playing the same team that's let you down time and time again, what do you expect to happen? That midfield three is the same midfield three, or very similar, that played under Jack Ross and Sean Maloney, and they were rubbish together then. And for me, 2 out of 3 that midfield isn't good enough to be playing for Hibs, in my opinion. And it's Jake Doyle, Hayes, and Josh
together.
Campbell. I think people I can't actually say anything bad about Campbell because he does get a lot of goals.
And you better not say
enough.
Apart from the fact he gets bullied all the time.
But he's not, for me, he's not a good centre midfield. Like, he gets a load of goals, and that's great. Like, that's obviously the name of the game, but he's not a good midfielder. So what do you do? Do you sacrifice those goals for a better midfielder, or do you keep him in knowing that he's going to get ran over every week, but he might chip in with a goal and a 6-0 win?
2 goals.
Well, you know what I mean.
Shaun, what do you think?
It's hard to disagree.
Don't you dare say anything bad about Josh Campbell, please. Please.
He gets bullied far too often, and the balance that we have and had in the midfield for the last 2 years has been woeful. So no wonder, even when we go to Tynecastle and play, when they've got 2 centre midfielders, their 2 still walk over our 3. Like, it doesn't matter where we go in Scotland. They're somehow, regardless of the fact that we have 3 individually better players than the majority of the league, as a collective, the balance is way off, and we get overrun every single week.
So who starts then? Who's your midfield 3?
I've already said I would want someone either to sit deeper, and then I'd want maybe 2 more attacking players, and I'd want one of them to be Levitt.
Levitt, Jago, Newell as a 3.
Is it any better than what we tried at the weekend?
As a 6, 8, 10?
I go. Why not?
I'd probably say Jago, Newell, JDH, and then Levitt at the tip.
As a midfield 4. And then where's your width coming from?
Yeah.
Would you have Boyle and Ewan up front together?
I don't know.
I think a midfield 3 is probably the way that we're going to get the best out of the players that we've got, especially having.
Is what we have to do, because we don't have 2 individually great midfielders that can do the multitude of roles that we need to happen. So we need to play.
Because I mean, you could play Newell in there, but then you would probably need to have Jago in there as well. And Jago can't chip in with the same quality on the ball and ability that Joe Newell has. And then Joe Newell, on the other hand, can't chip in with the same quality and ability that Jimmy Jago that Jago has when it comes to breaking up play and being a more defensive-minded midfielder. So we can't win. I'm sure we'll find out a half-decent 3 throughout the
No
season.
doubt we'll play the exact same midfield 3. Josh Campbell, Gio Noyle and JDH. I wouldn't be surprised if we play the exact same midfield.
I wonder if we
I
would
think
play
on
a
Thursday
midfield 3
we'll
of Joe Newell, Josh Campbell and Mark Duncan.
Now that would be a bomb scare.
Mark Duncan would do a lot of screening at the back line, like he's getting past them.
Mark Duncan sits in the 6, absolutely not a problem, Si.
And you could put Mile on the park and she would get past me.
I think he'll be.
She was trying.
Yeah.
She was trying to get on the park. By the way, I had her sitting on like the railings, at the West, and she kept trying to like go down. I was like, no, Myla, you'll get a football banning order.
Did you take your parent to the football at the weekend?
Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. He's raging because I came for him when he was like,
Well, we were talking about a
I'm not
midfield
blaming
3.
Paul Hanlon. I'm not blaming Paul Hanlon. Oh, I never had passes tonight. Shut up, man, honestly.
I went nachos. It's not even a dinner. It's a
These
snack.
nachos. What do you mean, scaff?
Snack. Clean out your ears.
Get a grip. You fucking arsehole. Right, last question from Twitter, and then I'm moving on to your stupid Instagram questions. Harvey Scott says, Boyle looked miles off it. Do you think a backup winger is a priority for next signing? For me, no. I think a right back is the priority. And then after that, maybe cover for centre mid, and then after that, a winger.
I'd say centre mid's a priority. A decent centre midfielder. And then I know we're not going to, but I would ship out a good few players in that team.
I think there is players that are going to go. I mean, I think a winger is probably a good shout, given that we've seen Dan Mackay move out on loan to Livingston. I mean, I feel like we've kind of glossed over that completely. I know we probably wouldn't have got an awful lot of game time this season, but it's an option that we now don't have. Like when you think about it in wide areas, who have we got? Boyle, Yuan, Obita can play there. Melkerson can probably play there. McCurdy when he comes back. I mean, Tavares, chances are he's not going to get a game.
Problem is, they're all pish.
That's exactly what I'm saying, is like why we do need someone who's going to come in, because if Yuan or Boyle gets injured, then, you know, we're kind of fucked for that position.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I agree. I think the priority should be getting a good centre midfielder, and also I think we should be looking at a right back as well. Cover for right back just until Cadden's back fit, even alone until January.
Who would like start at left back? Why is Stevenson still starting at left back?
I think Obita's been injured, so
But
that's
did he
why.
come on and play right back at the weekend?
No, he came on and played left wing.
Or did he?
Aye, I'm sure he did.
Well, we need to get somebody at left. I love Louis Stevenson, but he shouldn't be our starting left back.
He does a job. He really does do a job. But listen, at the end of the day, how old is he, Shaun? What, 34, 35?
36.
36?
Dunno.
I mean,
Oscar McIntyre needs to get games as well, and he's at the moment he kind of get a look in, so he's going to need a loan of some kind. And we obviously got rid of Sobraya, so I don't see what harm we have in putting Lewis Miller on the right and Obita on the left. They clearly both want to bomb forward, and then I think if we do that, we would then have to play somebody like Delfier or Diego in the 6, and I think on either one of them alongside a Newell and a Levitt might give us a better balance. But yeah, it would have been good if Boyle started at the weekend.
you've got it in for Martin Boyle at the moment, eh?
Just got in for Hibs.
You really do. Right, chuck us on to your Instagram questions. We'll rattle through them, and then we will finish up with a little bit of fantasy football, and then that'll be us for this evening.
Fantasy football, eh? Jack Gillies got in contact via the Instagram, which was very nice of him. Why do we persist with the same poor players over and over again? And I think we can all agree on the fact that if we started discussing that, we'd be here all night, Jack. Rudy then asked, and I don't know if it was the same Rudy that came on Twitter, Liam, you can either confirm or deny, what midfield three would we play on Thursday? For me, it would be Levitt, Newell and Campbell. What kind of balance do you think that would give us? Do you think
I
it would give
think
us a
it
balance?
would probably give us the same sort of balance that we had on Sunday. I think we need Jago in there. You know, I think Jago is the glue that holds it all together. You know, I know that he's not the most technically gifted player, but he's a leader. I know Joe Newell's a leader, but he's a different kind of leader to Joe Newell. He's the one who holds it all together. Lets Joe Newell play, lets Campbell play. I would probably go with Jago, Newell, Levitt as a three. I think that gives us a good balance.
I'd probably say, probably Jago, Newell, and Levitt, or Campbell.
Unanimous for the boys. Glad we could agree on something tonight. James came in with the same thing as well, saying why is it taking so long for managers to realise that those three don't work? But Liam, you said earlier that manager has already came out and said that he's realised that and it won't happen, and he's went and done it again. So, and Mark's made a very good point, the fact that it probably will happen again. David Jameson actually said he's got to go. What are our coaches doing? Looking that leggy is already concerning.
I mean, come on, David. It's game week 1.
We did look leggy though. We did look very
Come
leggy.
back to us at game week 21 and see if you still feel the same.
When we're rock bottom of the league.
Look, Mark, that.
We're rock bottom and David Gray's in charge on an interim basis till the end of the season.
9 million of time.
Jack Nicholson's came in saying that we need to get obviously 2 up top for Thursday, and he thinks Venti and Doige would be the best option. If Venti's available, do you think we play with 3 up top, or do you think we go with like a 3-5-2 and have the 2 up top like Lafondra and Venti?
I think it would maybe be a little bit harsh on Dylan Venti to play him in the middle of a 3 on his debut in Europe in a game that we desperately need to win.
I really want us to adopt 2 strikers, like not literally adopt 2 strikers, but adopt the formation of having 2 strikers on the park. And I think
Maybe that would be cheaper than buying them.
a 3-5-2 is maybe a good shout, but I would love to see if Venti comes in, him playing with either Doige, probably Doige or Lafondra, and then having Boyle and Yuan in a supporting role.
I thought Doige was brilliant as brilliant as he could have been in a 3-2 defeat yesterday. But that being said, if Venti's available and Venti's fit and he's ready to go, then get Venti and Adam Lafondra on up front as a striker partnership.
The worrying thing is, I just don't think we're going to do that. I think he'll persist playing one striker, and I've never ever been a fan of one striker. I don't think Hibs have ever played well with one striker, and
We need to go for it. We need to go for it.
We should maybe just surprise them and just go old school famous 5. Lafondra, Venti, Doige, Boyle and Yuan all up top together. Midfield 3, Doyle, Hayes, Campbell and Newell. Stevenson and Hanlon at centre half, and David Marshall in goals.
David Marshall in goals / right back and left back.
Sweeper keeper.
To finish us up, Callum McDonald loves an Instagram question, and he's hit us with 3 again. Wants us to rate Adam Lafondra's performance, which we've kind of already discussed.
7 out of 10.
Just go very well. Mark, giving it a score out of 10?
8.
Oh.
And a half.
That's done. Similar to questions that have already been asked, he's then hit us with, surely Marshall is done now, and we need to play the other goalkeepers before we go back to him. So that's kind of touching on the point that I already made and that you guys have already made. And last but not least, LJ has to change the defence and probably go to a back 3 like we did on the 27th minute, and get Hanlon and Stevenson out the team as they're just too slow. If Mark, you mentioned a 3 as well. If we were to get your wish and we were to go 3 at the back, I'm assuming Boyle would maybe be right wing back, and Abita would maybe be left. I'm guessing. So who would your middle three be?
Probably Jago, Newell, and either Levitt or Campbell.
At centre half.
Oh, sorry, I thought you meant my 2-3. Centre half, it would have to be Wolfish, Paul Hanlon, and
Rocky Bushiri.
Or Harbottle. It's one of the two, isn't it?
I
Megwa.
suppose
Out
with
the dark.
or go with like Del Fieri or Megwa or something. But I certainly wouldn't play Rocky Bushiri. Lovely guy, but dearie me.
Is that us wrapped up for the incident?
That's us wrapped up. That's us wrapped up.
Right, listen, we are going to touch very, 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 very quickly on how the Fantasy League looks for game week 1. Sitting pretty at the top of the table is at Hibby 1875. Team name Hibs for Europe. A grand total of 73 points. I've just looked and they've got Furihashi's fetched 18 points in game week 1, which I think is incredible. Then second is El Bozo FC. Joint second, Will Fish, HSC. Then What's the Story, Ross McCrory. And then Sunny 11, and then Don't Mess with the Yuan. Completes the top 5. I don't know what your guys' team names are, because I want to see where you are.
Mine says Leaf 7 clothing because I had about half an hour to get in for the deadline.
Right, Leeds. I know Craig's is Viva La Ramble. He's 39th.
I got 52 points, if that helps you in any way, and I had Kyogo. So I got 18 points, so God knows
You got 52, so you're 37th. Mark, what's your team name?
I'm not in it. Don't have one.
Right, so I'm currently top of the Ramble leaderboard with 55 points.
Football.
Well, you should do, because it's the Ramble. I'm top of the Ramble leaderboard. Well, for the 4 of us, even though there's only 3 of us playing. 55 points, then Shaun on 52 and Craig on 51. Woohoo, 5-1, woo. But yeah, so there's, I think there's more than 76 people here. It says it goes down to 76th, but there's people who are joint second and joint 5th and 6th and stuff like that. So if you've not joined already, I think you can still join when the season's ongoing. Shaun, I'm not too sure.
I can't confirm or deny because I don't like the Scottish one. I only downloaded it for the Ramble.
CTC, brother.
CTC.
We'll tweet out the league code again if you fancy getting involved. Like we said before it started, the winner, I would say maybe the top 3 will get some sort of Leaf 7 prize come the end of the season. So yeah, I think that wraps us up completely. We've gone for an hour and 25 minutes just about. What he's going to be up to for the rest of the evening?
I've started watching that TV series From, so I'm hooked on that at the moment. So currently binging. People enter this remote American village town thing, and shit goes on at night and they can't leave.
What's it on?
Sky Atlantic, I think.
Maybe give that a wee bash tonight. Mark, what are you up to for the rest of the evening?
Probably go to bed soon.
Fair enough, lad. Fair enough. Right, well, boys, it's been an absolute pleasure again to spend the last hour and a half or so with yous talking shite about Hibs, and we will catch yous all next week. See you later.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Let's get ready to rumble.